Small Town Faces is a short docu-series created by Southwestern Montana News. Everybody has a story to tell, and many wish they would have that story on film. On Small Town Faces, we'll start with the stories from the residents of Dillon, and we will eventually work our way to other neighboring towns. We hope you enjoy this series, and be sure to thank our sponsors as they help make this possible. If you'd like to become a sponsor, or if you have a unique story you could tell, email southwesternmtnews@gmail.com. We hope you enjoy the series. On today's episode of Small Town Faces, we sat down with some local veterans who talked about their experience while serving our country. The veterans were at J.C. Park enjoying a Beaver County Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture event, Brats for the Brave.
I have been invited to relate my life story, and it's going to be a long one because I'm going to be 80 years old next month. Now I'll try and shorten it up a little bit like that. Regarding my 26 years of military service in the U.S. Army. Way back when I was just a young pup, my stepfather and I raised dogs for retriever trials, and we won several trophies in the process. And I also, in Livingston, Montana, worked for a veterinarian. So, when it comes time to raise my right hand and take that oath, cut my hair, put on that uniform, and I'm in the United States Army. So I'm going through basic training down in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and we're all kind of wondering, where do we go from here? And when the time came for the come here, because of my background, I am going to go into the Canine Corps as both a dog trainer, and they sent me to veterinary technician school in Chicago, Illinois. So I'm not only a dog trainer, but a veterinary technician. Okay, now back in those days, the United States Army was the only branch of the service that had a veterinary corps and veterinary service. So we were multi-branch. So my first duty station, I'm off to the Republic of Korea, and I am up on the demilitarized zone with the 2nd Infantry Division, German Shepherd, Scout Dogs, and Sentry Dogs, up and down the DMZ, keeping those North Koreans on their side of the line. So I ended up doing, I think it was about 15 months there, and then back to the US of A, finished up my first 3-year enlistment, became a civilian again. It didn't work out too well because my hotel room had these iron bars on the window. So I was allowed to rejoin the military service instead of the alternative. So I went back into the U.S. Army, back into the Canine Corps, and off to Vietnam. Now over in Vietnam, because we are in the tropical jungle and rice paddies, only about 11 degrees above the equator. Hot, hot, hot. Monsoon season, 4 months out of the year, soaking wet. And we came up with this new program, Combat Tracker Program, which uses Labrador tracker dogs to take ground sense instead of air sense because the Viet Cong have got all of these underground tunnel complexes. And we're over on the Cambodian border. So, because of the fact that there was what they call TCP, tropical canine panzeremia, which was a disease that the dogs came up with from blood, mosquitoes, leeches, ticks, whatever. And this was unknown in the United States, so the dogs could not go back to the States. They had to stay there. So most of us dog people would extend our tours to stay with our dogs. So I ended up doing 37 months in Vietnam. And then when they signed the Paris Peace Accords, one of the conditions was that the U.S. military would leave South Vietnam. So all of us old-timers that knew our way around country, spoke Vietnamese, we get moved next door to Thailand, and we get what is known as sheep dipped. Now, sheep dipped, we were allowed to go ahead and let our hair grow out, stop shaving, grow some whiskers, civilian clothes, had a maroon colored diplomatic passport, which is different from a tourist passport, is green. A diplomatic passport is maroon. And now, ain't a soldier no more. I am a civilian with USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development. And under USAID, what we would do to comply with the conditions of the Paris Peace Accords, we would get on civilian aircraft, Air America, Continental Air Services, and we'd go back into, the whole gang of us would go back into Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos, running MedCap, Medical Civic Action Policy, DentCap, Dental Civic Action Program, and VetCap, Veterinary Civic Action Program. So we go into the towns and the villages, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. Doctors would run sick call, dentists would pull teeth, I would vaccinate animals, try and teach them animal husbandry. Well, that ended up going on in 1975. First Laos went down to the communists, then Cambodia went down to the communists. April 30th, 1975, Vietnam goes down to the communists. So after 3.5 years there in Thailand, the Thai government says, you guys got to get out of here too. We got to get along with our new neighbors. So back to the US of A. And after 6.5 years in Asia, I was having some problems dealing with the USA. So I called my boss, and he arranges for me to go to Puerto Rico. And, oh boy, three and a half years in Puerto Rico, running around the Caribbean. And then the Army, or no, the Department of Defense comes up with this whole new ball game called the Joint Rapid Deployment Force. And each branch of the service chips in their thing. So I get called out of Puerto Rico to go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Special Forces headquarters, and put together a 6-person veterinary support team to go with the dogs. And when the whistle blows, you get on the plane, you don't even know where you're going till the plane's in the air. So this ended up being 2 6-month tours in the Sinai with the multinational forces and observers, keeping Israel and Egypt out of the way. We're in the Sinai. And then I ended up going to Europe for Netherlands and Germany for reforger, return of forces to Germany. Then I ended up going back to Cairo, Egypt, for Bright Star. Oh boy, because we're constantly being deployed. And sometimes our 6-person team is 2 here, 2 here, 2 there. Honduras, on my birthday, the 25th of October in 1985, get on a plane and go to Grenada. Happy birthday. Off to war again. Oh boy. Then, okay, Sinai, Cairo, Europe, Honduras, Panama, and my final duty station, Fort Ord, California, retired after 26 years in the Army. Thought I'm going to be a civilian now. But, hey you, come here. Now there's this undisclosed agency of the US of A that has a sub-agency called FAST, F-A-S-T, Foreign Area Service Team. And it was all of us old-time soldiers. Spoke several languages. Worldwide, running around all over the world with the FAST teams. Yeah. So way back when my daughter was in the 5th grade, she was going to a school just on Fort Ord, and we're living in base housing. And the housing area we were living in is all senior NCOs and field grade officers, majors, lieutenant colonels, and colonels. So all these kids in this elementary school are not just Army brats, senior grade Army brats. So one day my daughter comes home, Dad, we have a project. Out comes a world map. Dad, we got to put pins in here every place the Army sent you. Okay. So put some pins in there, but wrote a note to the teacher. Said I was in a classified operation unit. Some of the places we went are not to be publicly disclosed. So I get a note back from the teacher. My uncle was in the Special Forces. I know the drill. Your daughter's map is also classified. It will be returned to her, will not leave the classroom. So I ended up in 47 pins everywhere except Antarctica. Missed out on that one. Some Special Forces colonel's daughter beat me with 53. But our boy, the just done country boy from Montana, get to see the world.
That's awesome.
But in spite of all of the places that I went to all over the world, and I was asked one time, of all these countries you've been in, are there any in particular that you would like to visit again? And I said, yeah, Israel and New Zealand. So anyway, that's my story. I'm done.
Today's episode of Hometown Faces was brought to you by Shadow Spook, October 28th, family-friendly Halloween shadow show, 6 p.m. It's presented by the Silhouettes at the Frontier Events Center. Also, don't forget, 5 p.m., Dog Halloween Costume Contest, 6 p.m. is showtime. See you there.